the play-in round. That's not even the playoffs. So you're going to have a Canadian team knocking out a Canadian team right there. Like the Flames and Jets, if they get past their play-in round, they could go on a little bit of a run. They can make it to the conference finals. But they could also be out right before. So it's interesting to pick. I mean, hey, I'm not placing any money down on any Stanley Cup champions yet, although I'm sure there's some great odds. I still got a lot of questions. And now, this isn't faulting the NHL for saying that players are unfit to play. That makes it a lot harder from Capper's perspective. Am I against it? No, not at all. Don't get this twisted here. I am not against the NHL holding player identities because I totally think that's fair. But when it comes down to, almost planning and preparing for your opponents, that's going to be tough. There's a big difference if someone has, a sore back or COVID-19. That's what makes my decision a little bit tougher. But as of right now, knock on wood, aside from Chicago, there's not too many superstars, big name players who are going to be missing out. We'll still see. Corey Crawford could be back. Very likely we could end up seeing him. But there's also a certain concern because he hasn't been on the ice yet, and the playoff round starts in 2 weeks. August 1st, I do believe, is when the Oilers and Blackhawks are going to meet. They're going to open up game one of their series, 1:30 Mountain Time here. And for the Oilers, this should be a cakewalk. This should be a 3-game sweep. This should be, maybe Chicago gets lucky and steals one. The Oilers get complacent, or, Mike Smith in playoffs, he's been known he's a 960 or he's an 860 goaltender. There's no in between. So maybe one of those, times the wagon falls off the tracks. But for the Oilers, this should be a walkthrough. So if you're asking me, I think the Oilers easily get through that play-in round, and then based on who they're going to be facing, I would assume, this is my prediction, Dallas or Colorado. I think they match up fine against Colorado. Colorado's a great hockey team, don't get me wrong, but I think the Oilers match up well against them. If they got to play the Blues or the Vegas Golden Knights, not liking it nearly as much. So, I could see the Oilers doing a little bit of damage getting to the conference semifinals. For a team like Calgary or Winnipeg, they're in a little bit of a different boat here, folks. One of them's not even making the actual playoffs. Then they're probably going to have to play a team like St. Louis or Vegas in that first round. And to get past them, that's tough. So out of the West, I'd probably say the Oilers. Hey, I'm drinking from a Calgary Flames mug this morning, and I'm picking the Oilers. Yeah, there's maybe a little bit of conflict of interest there. And I would love to see both teams. I would love to see Calgary and Edmonton meet in the Western Conference Finals. That's my dream right there. But right now, if I got to pick a team from the West, it's definitely the Oilers to go further. The Flames got a little bit of a playoff experience, little taste, but they've proven to have their struggles. And that's got to be a huge concern. Is what type of goaltending are you going to get from David Rittich? I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. Honestly, that's what makes it fun also. It's playoff hockey. Anything can happen. That's the best part about it. I just want to see some triple overtimes. That's all I want. Just, feed me triple overtimes. Inject it in me. There's nothing better than triple overtime in playoffs. And, you're staying up way too late. You're going to have to show up to work way too tired because the best playoffs on earth go to triple overtime. Nothing better. Don't give me this extra innings, baseball, soccer, penalty kicks. NBA overtime's a joke. It's like 2 minutes long. Nothing like NHL playoff overtime. Yes, I'm also excited that we're going to get like 12 straight hours of hockey. Moving on to the East, World Hockey Report. What's nutrition and performance question of the day? Which Canadian team's going to go furthest in the 2020 playoffs? I already picked the Oilers from the West. Harp agrees with me. Oilers definitely get past the play-in due to Crawford of Chicago being out. Already mentioned, that's a huge factor. I mean, nothing against Malcolm Subban, but if he's your playoff starter, play-in starter, you're screwed. You're screwed. Against Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Kylie Yamamoto. How damn good was that Oilers team come late down the stretch? They have so many weapons that if their defense and goaltending can string together a few good performances, they're going to be dangerous. I don't know if Edmonton, they're going to go the distance or anything, but they should go a little bit further. Cornerstone Capper, Flames or Oilers? Man, I mean, it's for the Flames. It's what Calgary Flames team are we going to see? Are we going to see a motivated Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan, or are we going to see ghost status of those two? Are we going to see David Rittich stand on his head, flipping his stick, running his mouth, or are we going to see him turtle away in his net, getting shelled for 7-on-15? All valid questions that need to be answered. Toronto, they got to play Columbus in that first round, and that's why I say Edmonton will go further than the Toronto Maple Leafs. For the Habs, I don't see them getting past Pittsburgh. I mean, it's a tough road to begin with. I don't believe Max Domi's going to play. Everyone I've talked to has that very same concern. That Max Domi, I know they said give him a week. He'll make his decision. I don't see it happening. And even if they had a full roster, I'd love to say I think Carey Price can get hot and steal this series. But now you're asking for too much. Montreal just does not have the juice in them. Pittsburgh does. Pittsburgh has guys motivated for their last kick of the can. That's what I love about this Pittsburgh squad is Crosby, Malkin, Marleau. These are guys, even Matt Murray and Net, these are guys who are saying, hey, we still got it. We still have a chance to make a Stanley Cup run. And I think they truly believe it, and I truly believe it, that they have that in them to make a cup run. I would love to see Patty Marleau get a ring. But I would also love to see Carey Price go on an absolute heater and carry the Canadiens to the Stanley Cup final. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. Not with the team that's in front of them. Hey, you know when you say, oh, you got to get past 5 guys before you get to the goalie? For the Canadians, we might as well just go like 4, maybe 3.5. Like, I don't know. I just don't like their roster. On paper, it is ugly. No, they're just not a playoff team at all. I'm trying to convince myself, like, maybe they can pull off the upset. It's not happened. Sorry, Montreal. Sorry, Quebec. Your team is SOL here. Toronto, if you get past Columbus, I'll be shocked. And then you're likely going to have to face, well, Boston, Philly, Tampa, or Washington. I don't see them getting past the first round of playoffs once again. I'm sorry to say that. So, yes, Edmonton, maybe Calgary. Calgary's going to get hot. If Winnipeg gets past that play-in round, I don't see them winning the first round of playoffs. If the Flames do, I'll give them a chance. I'll say that the Flames do have a shot at getting to the conference semis. Same thing with the Oilers. But I think the Oilers are going to be coming out of that play-in round a lot more scathe-free. And that will make all the difference when it comes to that opening round of playoffs. James Paxson chimes in here on Twitter. Says the Vancouver Canucks. I didn't even talk about them because, man, like I like their team, but Minnesota is such a flat standard team where they've got good goaltending. It's going to be a long series as well. I think Devin Dubnyk kind of, holds in the Wild. Even if they don't win, I don't see Vancouver getting out of that first round. Like, you're going to have to play. If I go through the playing round and I see the bottom teams, I'm thinking you're going to be playing either Colorado or Dallas. And if Vancouver's got to play Dallas, no chance. They got to play Colorado, no chance. Whereas I give the Oilers I don't know, like 3 times more of a chance to get past one of those teams. I don't see Vancouver in the same category as Edmonton or Calgary. Offensively, defensively, goaltending wise. Like, if I'm choosing between Jacob Markstrom or David Rittich, there's a very good chance I'm picking David Rittich. And I get it, Markstrom had a good year, but he was also hot and cold. Then you got Demko as well. You got a 1-2 kind of. But even for Calgary, look at what Cam Talbot did for the Oilers back in the 2017 playoffs. So I'm assuming it's going to be a short leash for Jeff Ward and company. You got 2 goaltenders who can play. Cam Talbot played fine when he was called upon. I don't think they're stressing as much as I might think about the goaltending situation in Calgary, but I feel like for Vancouver, they might have less of a chance getting past Minnesota in that first round than Calgary does against Winnipeg. I don't know. Vancouver just doesn't sell me as a playoff team the way they're built. They're young, they're skilled, but they're almost built like the Toronto Maple Leafs. Aside from the fact you got one of the best defensemen in the league in Quinn Hughes on the back end there. I don't know. I don't see him going for a run. James, appreciate the answer. I just don't see it happening. Hey, we got a lot more to break down here. And of course, the whole World Hockey Report brought to you by Verbero Hockey. Andy Sutton and company are taking this thing to the next level. You got the lightest sticks on the market, 350 grams. There's nothing that's going to come close to that. Bauer, I think, is like 20 or 30 grams more. CCM, don't even bother. Verbero, they are taking the game to the next level. There's so much cool stuff coming out with the gear as well. So Verbero Hockey, you got to go check them out. Hey, if you're looking to get new jerseys for the season, hockey season is coming. Yes, it is. There will be a hockey season, minor hockey, beer league hockey. It's going to be their Verbero. They are there to hook you out. Unreal priced jerseys. Whether you want to go fully pro stock, hard crest logos, done to the nines, or if you want to get to some, fancy sublimated jerseys for your beer league team, maybe some special edition jerseys, Verbero is there to hook you up. Verbero Hockey, World Hockey Report, yes, official partners, longtime NHLer Andy Sutton behind the wheel there. Reach out to us. We'll hook you up. We'll hook you up with some jerseys. Get at us. We're on Twitter at World Hockey RPT, on Facebook, World Hockey Report as well. If you want to talk about anything hockey-wise, Verbero, yes, we are all on board with them. And it's going to be great. It's going to be great to see what they're doing, because I really feel like the hockey world needed a little bit of a change in just the standard kind of getting worn out. So it's good to see. You know what? Jump away from the big brands. Take a serious look at the equipment you're losing. Up your game. Alrighty. Who else is excited for like 12 hours straight of hockey? I mean, that is going to be unbelievable, isn't it? We already talked a little bit about, which team is going furthest. Also got to give a shout out again. Paxson jumped on his show. The media's input. Go check that out. I shared it on the World Hockey Report page. We're going to talk a lot of NHL. Broke down a little bit of my experience as well in the field. That was fun. Always a good time going on your show. If you want a guest who's mediocre hockey career, maybe not the worst host in the world, but hey, I'll talk hockey with you. China not hosting a KHL team this year. Just going to hit you with a couple of quick hitters. Adam tweeted this out last night. There's a prospect named Jack Hughes in the 2022 draft. I mean, 2 people with the same name. That's confusing as it gets. Totally brain blown right there. We also tweeted out this link, and this was it's a tough one to read, tough one to see. Kevin Shattenkirk, longtime NHLer, he tweeted it out, and it's for former teammate Kyle Quincy of his. His son Axel's battling brain cancer right now. You can help out with #TeamAxe by purchasing a hoodie or t-shirt. All proceeds will be donated to fighting childhood cancer. Yeah, gonna be picking up my shirt there. You want to support him, Kyle Quincy. Huge shout out as well, Kevin Shattenkirk. Anytime guys are using their platform to help players like that, that's always It's touching. It's touching to see. So go check it out. Use hashtag TMAX if you're on Twitter, and you'll be able to see all of that information as well. Stanley Cup qualifiers. We'll get to this before our next commercial break here. I'll just start you off with day one. This is August 1st, and I'm not going to use Eastern time. Sorry if you're on the East Coast. Great White North. We're in Alberta. Best place on earth. Edmonton is not Jasper, by the way. I mean, don't believe the videos the government's showing you. They don't know where Edmonton is, and I mean, that's fair. That their government. That's not their job. They'll just, make stuff up. Hey, 10 o'clock here in the morning. We got the Rangers and Hurricanes. How are you? Love that series. Love that matchup. You got Chicago and Edmonton at 1 o'clock. That's going to be a doozy. Matinee game 1. Isles and Panthers. These two teams contrast each other so much. It's going to be awesome. I mean, Florida might outshoot the Islanders 50-1. And they might lose 1-0. I don't know. There's just an opportunity for that. And then here, Carey Price versus Sidney Crosby, 6 o'clock. And then to cap it off at 8:30, you got the Flames and the Jets. What a day of hockey. I cannot wait. Yes, we're going to be breaking down the series. Hey, I mean, there's big things in the works. It's going to be awesome. I mean, just 10, 12 hours straight hockey. I need to see some double overtimes. Just, feed me all of that. Playoff hockey. Around the corner here, World Hockey World. Let's take a quick timeout. Andy Strickland coming on the show next. We'll talk some Blues, Cam and Strick podcast, all of that and more. It's the World Hockey Report coming to you live. 12-ounce Sports Zingo TV, channel 761. Cody Jansen here with you on 12-ounce Sports Zingo TV channel 761. World Hockey Report live coming to you. Hey, it's July 15th, 9:43 local time, the Great White North. Folks, the drink of summer is finally here, refreshingly different. Cocoa, vodka, and rum's the original refreshing mixed drink in a can. Combines real natural coconut water from the Philippines, triple distilled vodka, smooth Puerto Rican white rum, and a splash of sparkling water. Whoa, nice start there. Cocoa, vodka, and rum started by two Canadians with a plan. Come up with a healthier summer drink that's made with quality ingredients. Ditch those boring seltzer waters. They're full of fake flavors anyways. Up your drink game. Talk about a vacation in a can. Cocoa, vodka, and rum. They're available at BSW Liquor and Co-op Liquor stores in Alberta. And if you're in the States, ask your local retailer. And you can order online at enjoycoco.com. Enjoy the Cocoa life with World Hockey Report. Go pick yourself up a case today. I'm telling you. Escape with Cocoa Vodka and Cocoa Rum, the original refreshing vacation in a can. Happy to be joined now on World Hockey Report. A longtime St. Louis Blues reporter, as well co-host of the ever-popular Cam and Strick podcast. I'm telling you, I mean, hey, everyone started off listening to Spittin' Chicklets in the hockey podcast world, thought that was great, but I'm telling you, Cam and Strick, we've already had Cam on the show. Now we're getting his co-host, Andy Strickland. They're taking the podcasting game to the next levels with huge guests. Andy, thanks for jumping on the program this morning.
Oh, good, man. How are you, Cody?
Hey, doing great. Appreciate you taking the time here. And let's jump right into it because, hey, I mean, for you as a longtime hockey reporter, when did you decide, yes, the podcast world's something I want to get into? I mean, you've done a little bit of everything, but now this is a new venture for you. And I mean, you guys started it probably less than a year ago, and it's taken off. I mean, I'd call you guys the 1B of hockey podcast because you're right up there with the best, and I'd say some of your interviews are even way better.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Podcasting, it's just new. It's different, right? I mean, for a lot of people, it's not new. I think a lot of younger people have, been, dabbling into the podcast game for a little bit, and I'll say this about Spittin' Chicklets, and I talk to Biz relatively often, keep in touch with him. We've had him on the show. We've had, Ryan Whitney on the show as well. But, these guys have been really good to us. And what they've done is they've created a platform for people like us to kind of, create a hockey podcast that's authentic, that's real, that's raw, and it's different. If you're going to categorize the Cam and Strick podcast, you could easily say, hey, put us in the same category as Spittin' Chicklets, but we don't try to be them. I think we're different than them. I think if you listen to us, I think you can catch on to that pretty much right away, that we have our own style, and we try to do that and bring that consistency to each and every podcast we do. You talk about our guests. That's kind of been a focal point of what we wanted to bring to the table, and try to bring a variety of different type of guests. It's not just tough guys. It's not just superstars. Not just Hall of Famers. We've had general managers. We've had owners who have come on with us. We've had broadcasters who have come on with us. We just had a referee for the first time on the Cam and Strick podcast. So, listen, man, we're having so much fun. I've known Cam for a long time. He's from St. Louis. I've been covering hockey out of St. Louis for over 20 years. Covered him as a player. Was the first person to break the trade when he got traded from New Jersey to St. Louis. I remember calling him and talking to him shortly after he got the news. So, listen, there's a lot of history between the two of us as well. We got good chemistry, and we love hanging out with each other and doing this, man. So, I didn't know where it was going to go and how this would go. And to be honest with you, we couldn't be more happy. And obviously, who knows where it's going to go, dude? You just don't know how far this thing's going to go, but so far, so good.
Man, it's been unreal. Like, it's you kind of started off and you're like, oh, another hockey podcast, right? And like, hey, I mean, it's tough to compete with the best, but you got to start from somewhere. And then all of a sudden, I felt like you guys really not attacked, but like you went after guests that people want to hear from. You brought on guys like Covey. You brought on, NHL GMs, owners. Like, I mean, when I think of that Tom Dundon interview, like, who's heard of an interview with Tom Dundon? Gary Roberts, guys who that they're doing their own thing, but you haven't heard their side of the story. So you guys are definitely taking that to the next level with those in-depth interviews. I love that. But hey, I got to ask you, man. Like, what's it like working with Cam Janssen on a podcast? Because we've had him on before. He's hilarious. But I feel like that's got to be a shit show at times.
Oh, man. But you know what? I will say this about Cam, and listen, I know a lot of former players, a lot of current players, and I've had, been, friends with a lot of players over the course of my time. And I will say this about Cam, because a lot of guys, they say they want to work, but at the end of the day, they don't want to work, right? They don't show up on time. They want to rearrange the schedule all the time, and they're truly not willing to grind it out. And a lot of them have the bank accounts that allow them to kind of have that freedom to do whatever the hell they want. In the case of Cam, I don't worry about him not showing up, not being fully committed. He is into it. There's no doubt. And so, yeah, we have a lot of fun. There's no question. But believe me, he takes it serious, too. And you may not think that he does, because he does have that off-the-wall personality. He's different than any other player you're ever going to meet in the history of hockey. You can say Biz Nasty has a unique personality, and he does. And there aren't many people who are like Biz, but there's nobody who's like Cam. And I can throw that out there 100%. His upbringing is different than the traditional hockey player. He comes from a different area of the world than a traditional hockey player. His story is different than a traditional hockey player. And that's why you have a unique personality. And I think our personalities together, they kind of mesh. We'll hang out away from the podcast as well. Last year when the Blues won the Stanley Cup, we hung out a lot during the course of the summer, meeting up at different Stanley Cup parties and just kind of bouncing into one another, even though I've known him forever. This guy's done my radio show several times. We worked out at the same gym for a long time. And I just have known Cam. It's not like I just got to know him now. So I knew what I was getting into with Cam Janssen. But I knew if I was going to do this, that it had to be with the right person. Somebody who could reach not just the hardcore hockey fan, but a sports fan, somebody who may not be totally into hockey. And, even if they're not familiar with, Gary Roberts or a Tom Dundon, they're still entertained and they still want to tune in. They still want to listen, because we bring a level of entertainment that's different. Cam and I have a vision where, maybe, down the line we're having guests on that maybe aren't hockey related. Maybe they're celebrities. Maybe they're people that have impacted, whatever their interest is, in a different way. And they can bring, some level of entertainment where we can have just a quality conversation and make it fun. So listen, we're in it for the long haul. We have ideas of where we want to take this thing, and who knows how far it's going to go, man. You just never know. But like I said, in terms of where we are right now, I couldn't be happier. But Cam Janssen, he is a beauty. You know that. He's different. He's hilarious. And, he does his homework. We've had guests on. We had a guest on the other day who, he may not know anything about him, and he struggles with some of these interviews, and he'll admit that. But at the end of the day, I think he doesn't give himself enough credit. I think he's way better than he even realizes, and I think people are catching up and picking up on that. I'm the one that books the guest. That's my responsibility on the podcast. I've been in the game now for a long time. I've got relationships with a lot of people, outside of St. Louis, throughout the hockey world, and some of those relationships have helped me in getting some of these guys on. A lot of the people we've had on, I've known for a long time. So, listen, I take pride in that, man, in terms of bringing on people, like you said, that hockey fans don't hear from an awful lot in terms of long-form interviews, guys like Lou Lamoriello, and different people who you just don't get a chance to really hear a long-form interview and hear them open up about their experiences inside the game and outside the game. Eric Lindros, Eddie Belfour, Jeremy Roenick, these guys who maybe are household names, but how often do you hear them sit around and truly open up and answer questions that people want to know the answers to for an hour? It's just different. We're trying to be different, and I think so far we've accomplished that.
Oh, unreal. You mentioned it too, like Cam's motor, unbelievable. Also, like, He's one of the personalities, and you know, Adam, if he was on the show today, he'd say it too, is that the NHL needs more personalities. Like, he's not a big NBA guy, but, you know, he likes how the NBA showcases their player personalities, and Cam Jansen's exactly that. I got to ask you, though, have you had Cam's cooking? Like, I mean, he always talks up a big game about his barbecue, although he doesn't eat it for some reason. Like, is he a legit cook or what?
Oh, he's so full of shit. Listen, this guy sends me pictures. I said I would never eat that. You couldn't pay me to eat that. Like, it looks disgusting, but that's what he does. He cooks and he hands it out to his neighbors. Like, his neighbors come over. Like, this guy had a dumpster out in front of his house because he was cleaning out his house. He was looking to move and sell his house, and he was just doing some quarantine cleaning. And neighbors are like going through his dumpster and like seeing what kind of goods they could find. I think people are just interested to know what the hell is inside his house. But I have not had his cooking. He claims he's a good cook. I haven't experienced it just yet.
Well, I thought he might be giving it to his neighbors because his pets wouldn't eat it. But yes, maybe his neighbors are going through his dumpster for some rookie cards. He's got a few boxes of those kicking around. Andy, I wanted to ask you before we have to get off here about the NHL playoffs coming up. Man, I mean, the Blues' unreal run last year, I'm going to credit that to a bunch of Sasky boys and Canadian fellas on the team. Like, I mean, that's huge. And then you got Chief coaching too. He's from, 20 minutes away from me up here. Like, Are they, kind of in a position to go for another run? I mean, I honestly think that they've got a team who is perfectly built for the playoffs, where the confidence is sky high. I love a guy like Binnington and net, where nothing seems to rattle him for more than 2 minutes at a time. Like, I mean, from your perspective and watching the Blues, obviously it's going to be a little bit different with them coming back. But I mean, what do you expect from this team?
Well, here's the deal: they got a number one goaltender, a number one center, two number one defensemen, and Pietrangelo and Parayko. People don't talk about Parayko. I see all these lists, by the way, for the Canadian Olympic team down the road. Like, nobody has anything to do with themselves but create rosters for the Olympic team, and they don't put Colton Parayko, who's arguably the number one shutdown defender in the league. So people need to figure out how good that guy is.
Former Fort McMurray oil baby.
Oh, yeah, man. He's from your area right there.
Oh, yeah.
Hometown boy. So, he's a great dude, too. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Almost too nice. I'm like, Colton, you got to be mean sometimes. He's like the nicest person you'll ever meet. But then they have the two-headed monster of Doug Armstrong, and who's the GM, and then Craig Berube, the head coach, who get their players' attention very quickly. Here's what it comes down to. Are they good enough to repeat? I mean, there's no question they are. It comes down to me how motivated they are to do that under the current circumstance. This is not your traditional playoff. We know that. This is not based off of how well they did in the regular season. Teams are going to have to hub up, as we know, in Edmonton at a hotel. How invested are they going to be to do this over the course of a 2-month period and to stay there for 65 days? If you're down in a series, 3 games to 1 or 3 games to 2, are you truly motivated enough to dig in, to want to climb out of that hole, knowing the reward is not only to advance but also be forced to stay in the hub for X number of weeks? I've never gotten the idea that players truly want to do this. I think they understand that they have to do this because of what's at stake financially for the league. But I think that's starting to change now. The guys are at the rink, and they're skating every day. They're around the boys once again. And I think the focus is subtly shifting towards, hey, if we're going to do this, man, let's come together and let's try to win this thing. And I think that's where their motivation is slowly trending for the St. Louis Blues. I do think that they are on board. You're going to have a couple of players who are going to have babies, some named players who are going to leave if they advance deep into the playoffs and they get to the third round. You may see 1 or 2 guys have to leave for a couple of games. How they overcome that is going to be interesting to see. But can they win? They can absolutely do it. I think they're the best team in the National Hockey League under a traditional circumstance. Okay, in terms of top to bottom, having the goaltender, having the depth, having the size on the back end, having a team that can win in a variety of different ways. To get Vladimir Tarasenko back, who obviously is a dynamic offensive player. So can they do it? Yes. How motivated will they be to do it? We're about to find out.
I'm not going to ask you a lame-ass who's going to win the Stanley Cup question to close this out. I'm going to ask you, how boring...
Because I don't know the answer. It's probably going to be a team that would have no chance under a traditional format.
Here come the Minnesota Wild.
They're going to be the team that end up winning,
Okay, I got to ask you, though, you're a hockey guy here. You got to be straightforward. How boring is this round robin going to be with the top 4 teams? I mean, I've never watched paint dry, but I'm feeling like round robin NHL play, like these guys are going to be floating around like no tomorrow. Are you going to watch?
Oh my God! Well, I have no choice but to watch. Yeah, I'm gonna watch, but
Forced.
the intensity level is going to be below zero. You know, with some of these games, with limited things at stake. I'm hearing people break it down like it matters. Oh, they're going to be after the number 1 seed. Do you think the Blues give a shit if they're the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed? They don't care. They want to get out of that being healthy. They want to get as many players in and out of those games, get their feet going, get their legs going. As many guys get a taste of intense hockey for the first time in several months as they can. So, listen, you want to win it. Don't get me wrong. You want to have the best matchup you can have moving forward. And having the number 1 seed will allow you to do that. But we all know there's no home ice advantage at stake.
Nothing.
So I think teams are going to go about that, you know, obviously be careful in terms of how they approach it. Just make sure they get out of that healthy as they prepare for the real playoffs starting in round 1.
Andy, I really appreciate you taking the time this morning, man. Take care.
I appreciate it, Cody. Keep listening, man. I appreciate the support of the podcast, too.
Andy Strickland, Coast Cam and Strick podcast. You got to listen to that. Hey, we got to get out of here. Pete's Power Plays is up next on Real Odds. I guarantee you he's talking NHL too. I haven't looked at his list, but I guarantee you he is because he's unreal at that. Hey, be sure to support our sponsors, Verbero, Coco Vodka, Coco Rum. Go check them out. MyBookie.ag, promo code 12ounce sports. Wits Nutrition and Performance. We're coming to you live on 12ounce sports. Back here, same time, same place next week. Until then, we're out.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wednesday, July 15th episode of Pete's Power Plays, hosted by the one, the only, King on the Ice himself, Philly Pete, and we are live on 12ounce Sports and Zingo TV. This show, as usual, is sponsored by MyBookie. Now, before we get into this loaded card that I have for you all today, MyBookie.ag. Please sign up for an account today. Make sure you use the promo code 12ounce sports. That's 12OZ sports, all one word, when signing it up for an account today. They'll also match your deposit up to $1,000. You don't want to miss your chance to cash that ticket during the NHL and NBA playoffs during the season. Of course, MLB, all sports are coming back right around the corner. Baseball starts up a week from tomorrow. That's phenomenal news for everyone. So why not start the bookies well, then hitting up mybookie.ag. Promo code 12ounce sports, all one word, again, 12OZ sports, and they will match your first deposit up to $1,000. You don't want to miss great opportunities to cash big. Also, if you're kind of scratching the itch and you're not a big soccer bettor, then MyBookie has a great casino as well that you could bet blackjack, roulette, 3-card poker, whatever it may be. But anywhere else, the place to be is mybookie.ag. You will not be disappointed. Also, Zingo TV, 12ounce Sports is now on the list of networks now on Zingo TV. All you gotta do is download the app on your smart TV. And also, when doing so, when you create an account for Zingo TV, make sure you use the promo code 12ounce. 12OZ, that's it. Simple enough, and you will be good to go from there. And also just make sure to check out our latest blogs and podcasts as well on 12ouncesportsradio.com. We're also everywhere on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook as well. So of course, this is the home for the best live talk shows and sports broadcasts, including yours truly, Philly Pete and Pete's Power Play. So today, let's get into it real quick. I do have the lovely queen on the ice herself, Gina Tucci, my wife. We're going to get into the AEW Fight for the Fallen right now. And without further ado, Gina, welcome back. How you been?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Philly Pete.
Good. It's been a little while. I'm glad you're back on. Work has been tough for the both of us.
It's been busy. It's been very busy.
Exactly. With the whole spike going on in the world with the COVID, Gina's been really busy with work. And, Again, we thank her for being on the front lines during this chaotic times as we now have a new wave coming in, unfortunately. But Gina, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, are you ready to get into AEW Fight
oh,
for the
I'm
Fall?
ready. I'm ready.
Good. This is going to be a very good show. This is also proceeds are going to the COVID-19 patients as well. This is a reason why they're doing this third quote-unquote pay-per-view after Fyter Fest. And boy, it is like a pay-per-view all over again. So let's get into it. Now you have the Elite, Kenny Omega, Nick and Matt Jackson versus the Jurassic Express, Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt, and Jungle Boy. You know what, Gina, you haven't been on here in a while. Let's get your intake.
I was just thinking, I don't know who I would want to win.
I know.
I mean, they're both baby faces, right? And they're both great tag teams. I don't know. Honestly, I'll be happy with either one winning. I don't know. Are we doing bets this time?
Yeah, we might as well. We might as well. Keep it interesting.
All right, then I'll take Jurassic Express.
Okay, because that's where I was leaning as well. But you know what? Let's skip this one in terms of betting wise because I do like Jurassic Express
Okay.
in this matchup as well. The Elite, they're over in AEW. They had the fans again. Kenny Omega's already one half of the AEW Tag Team Championship, and Matt and Nick Jackson, they don't need to win to prove anything. They already are the leaders of AEW and the Elite. I just think Jurassic Express is on a tear right now, and they have all the momentum. They're hungrier in their young careers, and honestly, this is going to be probably a show-stealing match in the 6-man tag team. I can't miss this one. I know you're not going to miss this one. So Gina and I are on Jurassic Express tonight to win in what should be a very entertaining match and awesome match to start off Fight for the Fallen. Next up, FTR, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler versus the Lucha Bros, Pentagon Jr. and Ray Phoenix. I'm going to be simple enough. I think it's going to be another phenomenal match. I love the Lucha Brothers because they just go at it. They're fast.
They're very athletic.
They are, and they're quick, and they just throw their bodies around like it's anything. But I love the way that FTR has been fighting. They're on a tear. They have the momentum. This is definitely going to be an entertaining matchup as well. Like the whole card's going to be entertaining for sure. But this match too, I just think that FTR is going to continue to establish themselves as a top tag team in AEW and get closer to Matt and Nick Jackson. So for me, I'm taking FTR tonight. What do you think, Gina?
I would have to agree. I think that they're going to win. Yeah. Just because they're new, they're upcoming, they need a boost. And I think that will be a good match. And like I said, I think they'll win, but I'll take the Lucha Brothers just to make things interesting.
Okay, so there's your first bet of the night, ladies and gentlemen. I have FTR, Gina has the Lucha Brothers, and we will leave it at that. The TNT Championship match, Cody versus Sonny Kiss. Sonny Kiss has accepted the challenge. You know what? I love how Sonny Kiss has been doing well. Dark, you've seen her and Joey Janela kicking butt on Dark and doing really well. But to me, I just think that it's going to be too much Cody. Cody's not going to lose this match. I'll be shocked, but I just think this is an easy one for me. I think Cody retains. Gina, go ahead. I
have to say I think the same. I do think Cody will retain. I was kind of surprised at this one. Number one, makes me think Sonny Kiss is not going to win is because he's part of a tag team, an upcoming tag team with Joey Janela. But I think Cody's the better wrestler. So yeah. All in all, we could expect Cody to be, his good sportsman-like self. So I always enjoy watching that. Yeah. But I think it's going to be a great match, and hopefully Joey Janela will make an appearance. Yeah. And again, two baby faces. I'm a little bit kind of disappointed in the opponent, but it still will be a good match. Yeah, I just think a lot of critics can argue that Sonny Kiss is all we know, a gay man. We know that. However, he's very athletic, gifted, a very worthy competitor, and seriously could prove time and time again to just give it a chance. And here he is going off against Cody, but he will fall up short. I think Cody retains here. Here we go. Next up, the AEW World Championship. Mox himself, Jon Moxley, the current AEW World Champion, against the quote-unquote FTW Champion, which I still have no damn idea what this is all about.
Brian Cage, who could stop the path of Brian Cage? Moxley will. No problem tonight. That's not a big deal to me. This match was supposed to happen 2 weeks ago at Fighter Fest, but Mox was in contact with by somebody that had tested positive for COVID-19. More than likely, it was his wife, Renee Young. That was the word on the street. But he's recovered. He's good to go, and this fight is happening tonight. Moxley, Brian Cage. I think Brian Cage is a big boy. We know that. A lot of crap talking between the two. You saw Taz, the front man. Again, he reminds me of Paul Heyman with Brock Lesnar. Brian Cage is the same thing with Taz. Brian Cage needs Taz to basically boost his morale. And I just think that this is going to be too much for Cage. I don't think Cage is going to win this at all. I'll be shocked. I will be shocked.
Mm-hmm.
But this is Mox's company. This is Mox and his belt. Mox is not going to lose.
I don't think so either.
So Mox is my champion. He's going to retain. Gina, go ahead.
But just looking at the size of Brian Cage, it's very, very intimidating. And, if I was Mox, I would be, shaking in my boots. But I honestly think Mox is going to retain as well.
Yeah, and this is also another tough opponent for Moxley. He's gone through so many opponents, whether it's Hager, whether it's Brody Lee. I mean, just to name a couple. I just think that another tough competitor. And here you are. But I just think Moxley at the end of the day here will take advantage and win this match. Mox for me, Mox for Gina, and we move on. And I believe that is basically the rest of the card. I thought there was more. I thought there was more to the card, but I guess not. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Cage has a potential chance to upset Mox at all?
From what they've been hyping up, yes, absolutely. They have been giving him a lot of squash matches lately, so it's kind of hard to ignore those signs. But man, I'm going to be on the edge of my seat for this one, really biting my nails. Yeah, and to a side note, I just read earlier. These are the 4 main matches for tonight, but there's also supposed to be Allie and Brandy Rhodes are supposed to be in action tonight as well. That was on the top of the morning when I got up and woke up to seeing what was on AEW World, and not sure who they're fighting, but they were saying that they were in action. I think they continue their ways as well. They've been winning great on Dark, and I think they continue to do so against whoever they may fight. Your analysis from the women's view. Well, watching them last night on Dark, they seem to be a solid tag team, or at least they're on the way to be a solid tag team. But I'm very leery of this Allie girl. She was with the Butcher and the Blade, and she was the Bunny. So I feel like there's an alternative motive for her. So I don't know. I'm gonna tread those waters lightly because I feel a backstab coming in.
Yeah.
Or she's setting up for something else.
It's going to happen, and I agree with Gina here. It's going to happen one way or another. It's going to be very unfortunate for QT Marshall to, he's obviously fallen in love, obviously I should say, but it's going to happen to a point where you have QT and Dustin Rhodes versus most likely Butcher and Blade at some point down the road here. And Allie's just going to be a key component to doing this, as she'll probably more than likely just turn heel again, because we already know she is. I know she's faking this 100%. Gina knows this. I think the whole world knows this as well. But stay tuned for tonight. AEW Fight for the Fallen, 8 o'clock p.m. on TNT. This is going to be a great, great show. All proceeds, again, go to the COVID-19 Relief Fund. Very, very good that AEW is doing this. And you can't miss this. It's going to be a very, very good, entertaining / pay-per-view for everyone to enjoy tonight. So that ends the first segment of my show. Gina, you can stay on if you want, but thank you so much for talking AEW with me as always. I always love having you on, of course. So anything else you would like to say to the fans out there?
Just wanted to say thank you for continuing to support us, and we appreciate doing this. We have a blast doing this. Yeah. I know you do. When I can't come on, it's always a bummer. I know you're very upset, but looking forward to tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, that is Gina Tucci signing off on the show. It's always a pleasure having her on. She also had a wonderful week last week with her birthday. Got her some good stuff. She loves it. And, this weekend we're going to take our trip down to the Jersey Shore again to enjoy a very, very nice weekend. So Gina, thank you so much for being on board once again. So before I get into the next topic, ladies and gentlemen, 12 Ounce Sports is the home for the best live talk shows and sports broadcasts. You know you can catch my show, Pete's Power Play, hosted by Philly Pete, and all the other shows that are phenomenal, by the way, on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, but now, of course, Zingo TV. Zingo TV has added 12 Ounce Sports to their long list of channels, and now, if you're on your smart TV, just download the app, flip to channel 761, that's 761, ladies and gentlemen, and you can catch all of our live 12 Ounce Sports programming, plus our replays. All you gotta do is download Zingo TV, use the promo code 12 Ounce, that's 12OZ, when signing up. It's that darn easy. And also be sure to check out our latest blogs and podcasts as well on 12ouncesportsradio.com. Now, mybookie.ag, I can't stress this enough. Again, I had a couple weeks ago on 4th of July weekend, I had a couple people sign up, a couple of my buddies, and they've been rocking and rolling. But now, of course, mybookie.ag, sorry about that. When logging into or first create an account for mybookie.ag, make sure you use the promo code 12Ounce Sports. That's 12OZ Sports, all one word, when making your first deposit, and they will match your deposit up to $1,000. You don't want to miss your chance to cash that ticket during the NHL and NBA playoffs with help from your friends at 12 Ounce Sports, including yours truly, Philly Pete. And again, if those that didn't tune into yesterday's show, I broke down all the first games on August 1st. There was 5 games that I went over yesterday. That has been on replay. That is on replay as well on my timeline, on my handle at The Real Pete Tooch. You search up PT. I'm one of the first guys there. You can't miss me. And I have my replays up at least twice, sometimes 3 times during the day. And this morning I just posted it out again, those that didn't tune in yesterday, about all my analysts and incitements and leans as well when it comes to the first 5 games on August 1st. My leans are as true as it comes. And this is what I've been doing before the pandemic. My show is strictly a hockey sports betting show, and along with other things as well, including daily fantasy football as well. That's another thing that I do as well. So those that want to be a potential client, I have a handful. I'm getting more and more by the day. So the community of Philly Pete is growing and growing as we speak, and I thank each and every one of you that has held on to me for the last 4 months during this crisis. And I appreciate you guys. You guys are the real fans, and what better place to be than being a client of mine, and boy, do I take good care of you all. Even my free plays on Twitter and my free DFS lineups I give out to everybody before kickoff, and of course my hockey plays as well. I do have 3 packages out currently. The NHL package is package 1, just strictly NHL playoffs. You also will get my tickets for futures for the Stanley Cup. I know it's not the best odds now. You might even get better odds now, but I have them out right now. Clients also have Stanley Cup tickets as well, including, and also, of course, my NHL playoffs. So that's package 1. Package 2 is just strictly my daily fantasy football lineups for DraftKings and FanDuel. I do it both. So that's package number 2, daily fantasy. And then package 3 is both combined. NHL playoffs, my Stanley Cup tickets, and my daily fantasy football lineups for both FanDuel and DraftKings. All of them obviously on discounted prices because of the pandemic. I'm going to give back to each and every one of you. So those that are interested, reach out to me in regards, and I will take good care of you. And daily fantasy football, obviously last year was gold. We struck green big time. We were up plenty of units, obviously, to those clients tuning in. Obviously, you know what I'm talking about. And obviously, my NHL units speaks for itself. 149 plus 149.4 units on the season, rocking and rolling. I'm almost doubling my units compared to last season. Last season, I was at about 85 units overall, including playoffs. This also includes playoffs as well. So 149.4, it speaks for itself. This is just smashing bookies as we speak. So what better place to cash out large than being part of the VIP crew and joining Philly Pete's client list. So, but again, those that are on my Twitterverse that get my free plays, of course, I give out at least a client play or 2 client plays for free so that you know what I'm talking about and that I am the real deal. So, end of that. Just let me know if you're interested. Anything in general, just shoot me a DM at The Real Pete Tooch. Again, I'll answer all your questions when it comes to fantasy football. I am a fantasy football guru, as it says. And if not the best hockey capper in Twitter. So enough of that. You heard it already. Now let's move on real quick to the updated Stanley Cup odds. Now, I want to get into this because a couple of movements has happened here. Minnesota Wild is at a 80-1, but on some books here, they're not even listed. So to me, that makes me think that A, they are basically, bookies know that, or Vegas even knows that they have no chance whatsoever against the Canucks, who are my favorite to obviously win that series, no problem. But it's strange to me that they're not even on or listed as a Stanley Cup odd at all. There's no odds for the Minnesota Wild whatsoever. Even to win the Western Conference, Western Conference, they're 30-1. So between them and the Blackhawks, they have the second worst odds to win the Western Conference at 30-1. So a couple of my books here, I usually put up about 6 or 7 books, sometimes even up to 10. So you know what I'm talking about and dealing with when it comes to line movements for over-unders, spreads, puck lines, whatever it may be, money lines. But the Stanley Cup, they are off. But somehow the Chicago Blackhawks that have the worst odds to win the Western Conference are at 65-1 to win the Stanley Cup. But the Minnesota Wild are not even on the Stanley Cup. So based on the other books that I have here, they are at 75-1. My other book is at 80-1. So they do have the worst odds to win the Stanley Cup for sure. But just to run down real quick, Arizona 40-1, Boston 5-1. They lead the way. Calgary 40-1, Carolina Hurricanes 50-1. Now clients already have a 33-1 ticket from before the season even started. So they're getting some good value. Those that want to put in a ticket for the Hurricanes at 50-1, why not? That's an exclusive Philly Pete client play for a dark horse Stanley Cup champion in the Hurricanes. Blackhawks 65-1, Avalanche 8-1. My clients have a current ticket of 12-1 for the Colorado Avalanche. So that's some pretty good odds there. Dallas Stars 14-1. Clients have a 15-1 ticket on that. Columbus Blue Jackets 60-1. Edmonton Oilers, a dark horse for me as well. I do like them at 25-1 because why not? I do like what they have here. Panthers 60-1, Canadians 85-1. They also obviously have the worst odds to win the Stanley Cup. And again, it's crazy to me that the Wild is still not on here. So the Wild can even be 90-1, but on the other books that I have, they're on there at 80-1. Some of them are 75-1. Preds 25-1, Islanders 50-1, Rangers 30-1, which I also like as well. Flyers 10-1. I had them at 18-1 earlier on. Penguins 15-1, Blues 7-1, Tampa 6-1, Toronto 20-1, which I do like as well. Canucks 30-1, Vegas 6-1, Caps 7-1, and lastly the Winnipeg Jets 50-1. So that is not bad right there. Real quick, some NHL news. Real quick, exhibition games are coming in. We have basically 12 exhibition games are scheduled for later this month. And obviously ahead of the qualifiers, Tuesday, July 28th at 4 o'clock is the Pittsburgh Penguins against yours truly, the Broad Street Bullies of the Philadelphia Flyers. That is at 4 o'clock. Then following that, 8 o'clock, the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Montreal Canadiens. And then the nightcap, 10:30, Oilers versus the Calgary Flames. That is Tuesday, July 28th with a triple header to start exhibition. Wednesday is even more loaded. You have 6 games spread across the entire day. Starting at 12 o'clock, the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Florida Panthers. 2:30, the Colorado Avalanche versus the Minnesota Wild. At 4 o'clock, the Hurricanes versus the Caps. At 6:30, the Blues versus the Blackhawks. 8 o'clock, the Islanders versus the Rangers, a battle of New York. And then lastly, the nightcap at 10:30, the Canucks versus the Jets of Winnipeg. That's Wednesday, July 29th. And then Thursday, July 30th, starting at 4 o'clock, you have the Preds versus the Stars. At 7 o'clock, you have the Bruins versus the Blue Jackets. And then the nightcap, you have the Vegas Knights versus the Arizona Coyotes. So, hey, hockey's right around the corner as well. You got 13 days for exhibition hockey. And by then, MLB will already be starting too. So this is great, great news. Side note real quick. Chicago Blackhawks could be without top goaltender Corey Crawford for the Stanley Cup Finals, or playoffs, excuse me. This has come in the other day, and I wanted to tell you guys this yesterday, but it literally came out after my show. So this could be the fact that the Blackhawks are down to their third-string goaltender because it's obviously not clear if Crawford will be fit to play. The Hawks open camp on Monday, and Crawford was deemed unfit to play, quote unquote. The team is being purposely vague because the NHL prohibiting teams from releasing medical information in phases 3 and 4 to protect the privacy of the player. Crawford also did not take part in any of Chicago's voluntary workouts during phase 2. He's also 35 years old. He's also been splitting time with Lehner, but started the final 8 games before the shutdown with Lehner gone. Crawford, obviously, we know, has helped the Hawks win the Stanley Cup in 2013 and 2015. And obviously, if Crawford isn't fit by the Oilers series, the Hawks could turn to either Malcolm Subban, who played back in the Lehner trade with the Golden Knights, or third-stringer Colin Delia. Now, Subban is 9-7-3 this season with a 3.17 goal against. That's going to be tough to come by when you play this Edmonton offense. .89 save percentage. Delia has only played 18 games in his career and never in the playoffs. So Chicago is in some really bad shape here if Crawford does not play. So we will see what happens. The first, like I said, I mentioned this on the show yesterday, Edmonton was minus 145 to win game 1. The over-under was set at 6. And again, this is going to go to 6.5 before everything is said and done, especially if Delia is in net in game 1. So that's huge news for the Blackhawks and those bettors for sure. Now, last but not least, let us get into the spreads for the first round series spreads. Here we go. Pittsburgh Penguins versus Montreal Canadiens. Now, again, this is something that I'm going to take all dogs here. I'm taking all dogs to cover their spread. Montreal Canadiens to cover a game and a half of the Pittsburgh Penguins, minus 160. A little juicy, but I do like it. I do like them to cover a game and a half. That means Pittsburgh's going to have to win the series 3-1. I did mention that this is a series that will go 5 games. And listen, if you wanted to go 5 games, I believe that was at plus 400. Now you can even double that up and take the Canadiens at minus 160 to cover a game and a half. So, hey, if you're at a 2-2 series, you cash that out no problem. So I do like that. I really, really do like the Canadiens to cover a game and a half there. Edmonton and Chicago. Again, another game where it depends who the goaltending situation is for Chicago. Edmonton could clearly win this series, 3-1. But if you're looking at some odds here, Edmonton to basically win 3-1 or to cover the 1.5 spread, basically they need to win 3-1. That's plus 160. That's not bad. But Chicago plus 1.5 to cover the series, basically to cover the series, is minus 200. That is very, very juicy. That to me makes me think that, again, I discussed this yesterday, is a potential 5-game series as well. If you want to lean the Oilers' way, go ahead. But to me, I just think minus 200 is too much when you could just take a value ticket that the series will go 5 games at plus 400, whatever it may be that I discussed yesterday. I like it. I do like it. I think Edmonton still wins the series, but I just think that the plus 1.5 for Chicago is a lot. There's a lot to bank on. So that's something to think about. Flames Jets real quick. I do like that. Well, the Flames to win the series 3-1. That is basically a plus 170. So Flames minus 1.5 on the goal spread, plus 170. That's some good odds there. I like the value in that. I think the Flames will win the series 3-1. They will win in 4 games. Jets to cover. Just to cover the 1.5 is minus 215. That's too juicy for me. Again, these Vegas cappers putting out these Vegas books in general, just giving out all these spreads for lines are very insane. So one side of me at minus 215 for the Jets to cover plus 1.5 games. Again, this has to go 5 games for that to happen. So, again, this is why taking dogs in game 1 is a good way to go here. So, if the Jets win game 1, you're looking in pretty good shape, but you just can't have the Flames win 3 straight. Otherwise, Flames minus 1.5 on the game spread cashes out for you. Hurricanes Rangers. This is another series where, again, I'm on the Rangers taking advantage and winning the series as well. Even though I do have a ticket on the Hurricanes to win the Stanley Cup, but again, they are my dark horse to win it. But the Rangers have been playing so hot that I could consider the minus 1.5 game spread for the Rangers at plus 250. That is some really good odds here. That makes me think that, the Rangers have to win the series 3-1 in 4 games at plus 250. That's not bad. That's some really, really good odds there. The Hurricanes to win 3-1 and they cover the minus 1.5 game spread is at plus 200. So either way, whatever you lean more of is great value. Rangers to cover to +1.5. Now, if you could do parlays for this, I highly recommend that you take the Rangers +1.5 on the series spread at -235. That's why it's juicy. That's why I did mention to take, a parlay with them along with someone else that you like. But the Rangers, I think, are going to walk away out of here, and I think this has the potential to go 5 games. But when everything's said and done, Rangers +1.5, -235 for the series spread. Take that in a parlay with something else to your desire. Coyotes, Predators. Now, again, another game where I feel like, another series that I feel like, Predators to cover the +1.5 is -300. Now, you could parlay the Rangers +1.5 with the Predators +1.5 series spread, and you'll get a good payout, 100%. So, it's not bad. I really don't mind it. Now, if you parlay those two at +1.5, you're getting an even parlay. So 25 will pay you 25, 50 will pay you 50. So whatever it may be, it's not bad. Winding down real quick, Islanders -1.5 at +190. I like that as well. Even though I do like the Panthers to advance, the Panthers -1.5 at +220. That's pretty good. And again, the Canucks -1.5. Again, I think the Canucks are going to win the series in 4, +200. I like that. And then Leafs Jackets, man. Again, the Jackets +1.5 is at -175. So that's not bad either if you want to parlay that with something else. So I would highly stay tuned to that. But that basically wraps up my Wednesday episode of Pete's Power Plays. I hope everyone has a phenomenal day. Be back tomorrow. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Take care. Talk to you tomorrow. See you guys.